Hi everyone, yes, ask kefalotiri to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today we're going to warm up with a delicious, hearty cauliflower soup. We're going to roast the cauliflower until it's nice and nutty and soft and tender. Then we're going to turn it into a soup that's going to be so delicious and easy to make. Your whole family is going to love it. Let's get started. So I'm starting off with 2 heads of cauliflower in a big baking pan. And then I have a potato, and this little small one was in the bag too, so I'm just going to use it. I'm going to cut the small one in half. And the potato roughly about the size, that's the same size as the cauliflower, so it all bakes evenly. And I just peeled 1 carrot, cut the tips off. You don't even have to cut the carrot, you could put it in whole. And I'm just gonna drizzle the vegetables with some olive oil, about 1/4 cup, so that way they roast beautifully in the oven. Season them with salt generously. And some freshly cracked black pepper. And flatten them out so that way they're in one even layer. It is actually better to put these on 2 trays so that way they get nice color on them. But I have other things going on in the oven today, so I'm just going to stick them all in the oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 or 40 minutes or until they're nice and soft and tender. So while the veggies are in the oven cooking, I used to put the onion along with them. I used to just roughly chop it and throw it in there so it gets nice and roasted and sweet. But because when I blend the veggies, I don't blend them all like to where they're nice and smooth, I would end up with some bigger pieces of onion. So I'm just gonna cook it in the pot that the soup is gonna go into later on. So that's why I'm just gonna finely chop this onion. So if there are any small pieces left later on, they're just bite size or even smaller than that. So the onion is going to go into a nice large Dutch oven pot or whatever pot you like to make your soups in, with a little bit of olive oil and a tiny pinch of salt. And these are going to cook for about 10 minutes over medium heat until they're nice and soft and golden. So it took about 40 minutes in my oven for the veggies to be totally roasted and nice and soft and tender. If you have fewer veggies in this, or if you did put them in 2 different trays, you should go in halfway through and just flip them around so that way they don't burn. But honestly, the little darkened burnt bits have more flavor. So the onions are also ready. They were ready much quicker. Actually, they just took about 8 minutes. I have some grated garlic here. You need about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic. I like to keep mine frozen, and I just break off pieces and thaw them out when I'm ready to use them. Just add it to the pot. I turned the heat off, so it's going to take a few seconds for it to warm up again. You just want the garlic to warm through until it's fragrant. 20-30 seconds is all it needs, especially if it's finely grated like this. Then go ahead and add all of the veggies into the pot. So I put all of the veggies in. I just reserved a few cauliflower florets and 3 pieces of carrot because I'm just going to chop those up later on for some hearty texture. So the veggies are in. I'm going to add 4 cups of chicken broth. You can keep this vegetarian and do vegetable broth instead. A little bit of salt, some black pepper, a little pinch of crushed red pepper flakes if you like some heat, and a teaspoon of ground cumin. It adds really nice earthiness and warmth. This is going to come to a boil, and I'm going to let it cook for about 10 minutes so all of the flavors can come together. And then afterwards, either using an immersion blender or you can pop this all in a regular blender, blend it to the consistency that you like. So be very careful if you're using an immersion blender. Take the pot off of the heat so it doesn't start splattering all over the place, and you don't want to get burned. And if there are any bigger pieces of vegetables like potatoes or cauliflower, you can go and mash them up before you go in with the immersion blender. This is a very thick soup, but I like to keep it more on the smooth side because then I just add these vegetables that I have reserved on the side for some more texture. I just went ahead and I sliced the carrot a little thinner than what they were. And then I like to add a little bit more chicken broth because I like to thin it out a little bit more so it's not so thick. It does continue to thicken as it sits, so maybe about 2 or 3 cups more. And at this point, go ahead and taste it and adjust the seasoning if it's needed. I also like to break up the big pieces of cauliflower. Oh my goodness, that's so delicious. I am gonna add a little pinch of salt and about a teaspoon of dried oregano. And then I have some heavy whipping cream. I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup or so. You can leave the heavy whipping cream out and add the juice of a lemon to this to brighten it up a little bit. It's up to you. I'm gonna return this to the heat so it can warm through and then it's ready to serve. You can also, of course, add some Parmesan cheese into this or serve some Parmesan cheese on the side if you want a little more richness. So the soup is finally ready and it smells so good. I did thin it out with more chicken stock. I ended up using 2 liters of chicken stock instead of 1, but you can make it as thick or as thin as you like. You could also top it with some cheese. I like to serve this in a big bowl with sprinkled on top with some sumac. Sumac is a very nice tangy Middle Eastern spice that's so good. It tastes almost lemony and it goes really well with the richness of the soup. It kind of brightens it up and lightens it up. If you can't find it, you could even squeeze some lemon juice on top. I would also top it off with a little bit of crumbled feta cheese. Time for the taste test. So good. So hearty and creamy, yet it's not overly rich. It's still kind of light, even though there's some cream in there. It's a great way to get vegetables into your loved ones because they're pureed and there's lots of nutrition in this. I hope you guys give this recipe a try. The exact measurements are on the website, www.dimitrasdishes.com. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Also post your recipe requests down there and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Guess us.